We all work in complex systems. We're embedded in them, we're dependent upon them, and they depend on us. And of course, our real question is, how do you manage a complex system? How do you work in a complex system to achieve exceptional performance, exceptional quality, exceptional access or volume, tremendous affordability? Sometimes answering a question is best done by asking the reverse. How do you guarantee failure? What we're going to do in this segment is take a look at complex systems, not from how to make them succeed, but how to make them fail. What's going to arise is that actually there are some very consistent behaviors which, if you follow, the complex system will fail. So you want to avoid them as a precursor to being successful. The objective in designing, operating, and improving any complex system, of course, is to achieve breakthrough quality, breakthrough access or volume, and breakthrough affordability. Now, there are certain things we can do to guarantee we don't achieve any of that, and one of those things is that when we see little things go wrong, we ignore those things. Now, why does that guarantee failure? Because those little things are a constant source of aggravation and inconvenience, but there's something else. Sometimes those little things, which cause aggravation most of the time, cause big problems some of the time. Or sometimes, and this is the more often the pattern, those little things, in the presence of other factors, other little things, cause catastrophe. Now, to really bring this point home, we've created a little demonstration of what this looks like in practice. So first, take a look at this video. We've got our friend Tom walking into a room completely undistracted. Turns out whoever set up this room or left this room from the last meeting inadvertently, or maybe not inadvertently, but carelessly left a power cord as a trip hazard. But no problem for Tom. He's walking in by himself. He's got nothing blocking his view. He's not in a terrible rush. He sees the power cord, and what does he do? He steps right over it. Exactly the right thing to do if you're Tom. Turns out it's not exactly the right thing to do if you're Tom's colleagues. Let's take another look at the same conference room that Tom left without tripping over the power cord. Now Daria and Deepa walk in, and it's a little more complicated, this situation, because they're talking one to the other and they're not really looking at the situation quite like Tom was able to do, because they're in the midst of a conversation. Then just at the last moment, watch out, be careful. Oh, thank you, good thing I didn't trip. All right, so far so good. Now we've got another situation. In this case, Joe walks into the room. Now Joe's situation is a little bit more complicated than Tom's. He's carrying something, it's heavy, it blocks his view. But again, he's not in a terrible rush. He's not distracted by talking to somebody else. Walks into the room, and because he has time to be careful, he sees the power cord, which Tom and Deepa and Daria have left in place rather than taking it out of the way, and he steps over it. No harm done. Good for Joe. Now, so far, good for Tom, good for Daria, good for Deepa, good for Joe. But it's not so good for Hannah and Rachel, because Hannah walks into this conference room, and she's got the same situation like Joe. She's carrying something, it blocks her view. But Joe got into the room no problem. But then Rachel catches and says, "Oh, Hannah, I forgot to tell you something." Which, that wasn't a problem before with Deepa and Daria talking. But the thing for Hannah is that someone's talking to her while she's carrying something. Poor Hannah, look what happens.